Donkey Kong has quite the storied past. First appearing in the 80s, Donkey Kong would appear in various games as a side character or villain. This was the case until he hit his stride with the Donkey Kong Country games and became a household name in the 90s. While he was all the rage for a while, it's safe to say new entries for the coconut-chucking primate has significantly slowed down. After all, he does have a game or two on the Switch, but they're all remakes. A lot of people talk about Donkey Kong and how good his games are on his own. But as for me, I barely touched the original Country games. And my only other experience with the gorilla, other than Mario vs. Donkey Kong, was playing Donkey Kong Jungle Beat and Donkey Konga on the Nintendo GameCube. I still have scars from the bongo controller, so I wanted to figure out what all the hubbub was all about. While I could play Donkey Kong Country Returns, it just released on the Switch at the time of this recording, there is an entry in my backlog that I always thought was pretty cool to try. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Technically, this is Donkey Kong's debut for the Switch in 2018, but Tropical Freeze was originally a Wii U title. Yes, that's right, Donkey Kong has never had an original game on the Switch. And you know what? You deserve better, DK! But for the many people who didn't play the Wii U version, me included, even though I owned a Wii U, this was the chance to play a better looking, better playing version on the go. There's even a new game mode to try too. So how is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze? Is it a cool entry for this frosty primate, or will I have a chilling response? Let's find out. We start off with the menu, of course, starting a new game and the ability to choose between normal mode or funky mode. A brand new, easier game mode where you play as Funky Kong. As much as I wanted to play the coolest Kong on the coolest Kong game, I wanted to see what the original had to offer first. This was how the game was meant to be played, as Donkey Kong. I mean, his name is in the title after all. It doesn't look like you can switch between him and Funky. You gotta choose the difficulty and commit to it. So I'm gonna commit to this one. After all, it's just a Donkey Kong game. How hard can it be? Uh-oh. Has the ghost of Wrinkly Kong come to haunt me? The game starts with Donkey Kong celebrating something that happened in 2018. Maybe the fact he has a game on the Switch finally, his birthday, I don't know. And everyone is here. Diddy, Dixie, Cranky, and Not Chunky, the whole gang. But then a boat comes onto the horizon. These are the Snowmads, Viking enemies that use their giant horn to blow the gorillas off the island. It also turns their jungle paradise into a winter wonderland, and it's up to the Kongs to put a stop to it. Honestly, the opening cutscene looks great, even for the Switch. The animation of the Kongs are awesome, the Snowmads look cool, the villain is intimidating, and the transformation of Donkey Kong Island is well done. It's an epic introduction. The adventure begins with Donkey Kong punching himself out of a plane. You go around collecting all sorts of items, jumping on enemies, all while trying to reach the end of the level. It's a platformer at heart with all the classic moves like running, rolling, dodging, and of course, lots and lots of barrels as you kick the Snowmad's butt. This is a true-to-form 2D collectathon platformer, and it certainly doesn't skimp on things to collect. There are, of course, bananas coming single, triple, and big batches. I mean, what Donkey Kong game would be complete without a potentially lethal dose of potassium? There are banana coins that you collect for a special something later, puzzle pieces you get doing specific challenges, and of course the Kong letters. 4 letters scattered throughout the level, and you have to find as many as you can. Oh. 1 letter off. You can also collect balloons, which count as extra lives, because every time you die, you ride a balloon. And at the end of the level, you hit a barrel, get bananas, extra life, or the opportunity to punch a barrel multiple times. So satisfying. One thing that stands out about Tropical Freeze is its presentation. Most of the levels look incredible, and despite the name, a lot of these levels aren't ice-themed. You have 6 different regions with a bunch of different places to explore. These include jungles, the beach, rivers, temples, caves, and as the title of the game implies, cold climates. These levels look incredible. As you can tell, they went all out with the presentation. And the music, my god! Some of these tracks are some of the best I've heard in a platformer. And one reason for that is the return of David Wise, the original composer for the Donkey Kong Country series. I barely play the Donkey Kong Country games, but from what I have played, the musical motifs are instantly recognizable, especially whenever you go underwater and hear hints of aquatic ambience. It's a great callback for fans of the original piece. One of my favorite levels is in the savannah, where there are a bunch of giant puppet animals and this music that reminds me so much of The Lion King on Broadway. Only instead of watching the show, you feel like you're actually on the stage, climbing the set pieces and the giant puppets and the... It's still a beautiful area to me, and the one I remember the most. But that doesn't make the others any less amazing. Each level has something unique about it, being a combination of looks, art style, unique game mechanics, or even how you traverse it. The majority of them just have you moving around as DK, but some levels involve jumping from barrel to barrel. There are a decent amount of segments where you're underwater just swimming around, which honestly controls really well for a water level. It just feels so natural, and it's a rarity for a game to pull this off as well as this game does. You also have a few vehicle segments too. Minecart tracks return where you have to avoid obstacles. There are these rocket barrel levels that have you riding a barrel like a rocket. I always had a blast with these levels. See what I did there? It's such a crazy idea, and I love it. I had no idea Bluster's Barrel Works could even think of something like that. And finally, you have the return of Ranby. You know, the rhino from the original Donkey Kong Country? He's back with a few levels where you ride him, running rampant and breaking everything. What about the rest of DK's animal companions? Well, they aren't in this game, so that's a bit of a downer. I kinda wish there were more animal varieties instead of just Ranby, but it's something.
Football.
I'm terrible at this game.
Get good.
Okay, I've been dying quite a lot in this entry, huh? Well, there's a reason for that. The game is freaking difficult, okay? It's that special kind of Nintendo hard that a lot of platformers are known for. Sure, the first few levels are super easy, letting you get a feel for the game and its controls, but as the levels go on, the difficulty spike is real, and you find yourself having to do these levels multiple times in order to succeed. Some of these platforms are difficult your first time through, especially with just Donkey Kong, where you really notice his weight in this one. He himself can only jump once, and you gotta make each jump count, otherwise, it's an early trip to the frozen grave. It can get very frustrating and annoying dying to the same section over and over again. But even then, the difficulty is fair. Most of the time. A lot of times, it just comes down to practice. Then you'll be able to clear the problem area, but you're still going to die. Again. And again. And again! What are you doing, Donkey Kong, you big ape? Thankfully, there are checkpoints in this game, in the form of these little pigs right here. Apparently, his name is Professor Chops. Graduated in the University of Congo Bongo. It's thanks to him you don't have to do everything in one go. Sure, you'll have to start over from the beginning if you get a game over, but otherwise, these checkpoints are lifesavers. Although, I will admit, they're not very well paced. Sometimes they feel fair enough, and other times, it feels like it's been forever since you've seen one of these checkpoints. I'm practically paralyzed with fear that the wrong move will send me all the way back. There were times where I begged, prayed, and cried when I saw that little piggy in the distance. And there were even times where I died right before I got to him, too. Such a... No. Donkey Kong! But thankfully, you do get some help in your adventure with the form of your companions. Diddy, Dixie, and Cranky aren't in the opening just for show. Each of them have their own part to play as your companion, with their own special meters. There's Diddy Kong, who uses his rocket jetpack, giving you an extra bit of airtime when you jump. He also turns all the enemies into life balloons. There's Cranky Kong, who is the most challenging of the three. His big thing is using his cane to give you an extra bounce on the enemies. It reminds me of the cane pogo jump Scrooge McDuck uses in DuckTales. When Cranky's meter gets full, all the enemies turn into banana coins. This, combined with how unforgiving his platforming segments are, resulted in me not using him too often. I didn't use Diddy much either, if I'm honest. He wasn't nearly as difficult though, and I definitely preferred using him more than Cranky. But the main partner I used in this game was good old Dixie Kong. Trust me when I say she will save you in this game. She is the life preserver that you desperately need. So why is Dixie the best party member? Pretty simple. Hovering. When you press the A button, you use her pigtails to hover. This can give you a little bit of extra height and distance. And with how precise these platforms can be, yeah, there was so many times it saved me from a bad fall or helped me reach an enemy or dodge an attack. Not to mention, when her meter is filled up, all the enemies turn into golden hearts. This not only gives you recovery hearts if you lose any, but if you haven't, your regular hearts turn to gold hearts, and you get extra hit points. This is invaluable for some of the dicier sections, and it's a nice insurance policy going through a level with extra hit points. Yeah, that's right, I'm ready for adventure! Dang it, Donkey Kong, you... Where did Dixie go? Yeah, when you die and you get a checkpoint, there goes your buddy, leaving you alone, afraid, and a gorilla. Sure, there will be another barrel with the nearest checkpoint if you're lucky, but a lot of times, you'll get Dixie early on in the level, only to reach the checkpoint and no more Dixie for quite a while, if at all. This can lead you back to the difficult challenge of dying a lot, over and over again, and oh look! Game over. Donkey Kong! Oh my god, this is hurting my throat. Looks like we're going to need some help. And thankfully, like the rest of the Donkey Kong Country games, we can rely on Funky Kong to bail us out in our time of need. You remember those banana coins we were talking about earlier? Well, you can use them at Funky's to get a variety of items. There are balloons, like red balloons that double as lives, green balloons that save you if you fall into a pit, or blue balloons that help you breathe underwater for longer. You can buy barrels for each companion so you can use them at the start of the levels. A heart increase to increase your health at the start of the level. A different heart to increase the health of your vehicles. Squawks the parrot, who helps you find puzzle pieces. Banana juice that makes you invulnerable for a short period of time. The power of potassium. Did I forget anything? Oh yeah! Lastly, there's a gacha system for unlocking extras of characters in the game and such. These are mostly if you want to 100% the game. It does nothing gameplay-wise, but everything else does. You can select up to 3 different items for your inventory. So if you're having trouble with certain sections, like I was, you can use something to help you out. They're very helpful, and the right combination can make a world of difference. Or if you're gunning for 100%, can help you find all the collectibles. But while those items do help, you still gotta be careful. A lot of the items are one use only, so if you use it and then die later in the level without a checkpoint, you're back to the basic trial and error method. It can be a bit annoying. Still, Funky Kong Shop can be useful, and to me, it was almost a necessity to buy some stuff before the bosses. Speaking of, let's talk about those bosses, shall we? Each boss has a great cutscene to introduce them. And not only do they look cool, but their music is even cooler. Seriously, it's usually some intense rock music that gets you hyped up to face them. and I really enjoy it a lot. Oddly enough, mechanic-wise, the bosses remind me a lot of Cuphead, though a lot easier. There's still some trial and error that comes with learning their attack patterns and finding their openings, but each boss is memorable in both design and fight pattern, with some being more challenging than others. I won't say too much about the final boss, but I warn you, it is mean. It's a pretty annoying fight that not only takes a long time, but the hitbox for this boss is particularly tricky. You gotta hit it at just the right angle, otherwise, you're gonna be the one who's losing health. And the timing can be merciless for this fight too. Come on, please, just let me survive!
Donkey Kong, you jungle jumping! Didn't you do anything right when beating that double blubber? He's more athletic than you banana eating mother.
After a bit of time, persistence, and a whole lot of rage, I beat Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. My favorite thing is being able to punch the bosses, and I'm not gonna lie, it was very satisfying to slap that giant walrus and take back the island. I did beat the game, but I didn't do anything else crazy. I didn't 100% it, I didn't find all the collectibles, and I didn't even go to the final bonus world. If you do unlock everything, your bonus for 100% completion is a hard mode. In that hard mode, you only have one heart, you can't bring any items, you won't have any buddies to help you out. Oh, and there are no checkpoints. No way in hell am I doing that.
Well,
Well, that's it, right? That's the end of the game, right?
I still taste air everywhere.
Well, not quite, as the Switch version had something that the Wii U didn't. Funky mode. Remember how we could pick modes in the beginning? Well, Funky mode is this game's easy mode. And my god, there are so many things that make this much easier by comparison. You don't have any buddies to help you out, but as Funky, you don't even need them. Funky is the Chad. He has 5 hearts, he can jump on spikes and other shop objects with his surfboard, he can double jump and continuously hover for as long as you are in the air. He can even breathe underwater as long as he wants because he has a snorkel. Oh, and Funky's shop? Yeah, that's being run by Talks the Parrot. And not only can you still buy items, even though the barrels don't really do anything, you even get an employee discount. And while the original is fun in a more challenging way, this is more fun in a more casual way for the people who just want to try out the game. I really had a lot of fun doing Funky mode, especially after beating the main game. While I felt more cautious about the main game and took my time trying to learn from my mistakes, this time I took more risks, tried to get more collectibles, and tried to think more out of the box with the level design. It was a lot easier for me not to worry about consequences, and even if I did die, I remained relatively confident playing as Funky. Plus, he's so cool! How could you not love him? Ong! However impervious Funky may be to spikes and drowning, he can still get hit by enemies and he's not immune to bottomless pits. So it's not a challenge-free easy mode. You could still die a decent number of times. It's just a lot easier overall. I even had some trouble with this sliding section as Funky, and none of his upgrades could do anything about it. Wait, what's this? You can move on to the next level just by going to the main menu? If you struggle that much, they'll just let you move on to the next level? Dang, Funky's so cool, he doesn't even need to beat the level to beat the level. But to be fair, if you decide to just skip to the next area, you don't get to keep any collectibles. So that's a nice incentive to push through the pain. But dang, this is a lot easier by far. And that's Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. After playing it, it can definitely be a hard game, but it's one of the best platformers I've played in years. This game is gorgeous with intuitive level design, and the music is some of the best I've heard in a platformer. I can see why people love this game, and some even call it their favorite in the series. It's really challenging, almost too much at points, and it can really make you frustrated. But I think the difficulty is fair, and you can learn from it so you can become better. Plus, adding funky mode for a truly casual experience is a great way to give less skilled, or less patient, gamers a chance to experience the game in its entirety. I kind of wish you could just switch to difficulty in the same save file, but it's not too big of a deal. Whether you want to test your platforming skills, get funky on a surfboard, or enjoy a fresh coat of paint on a classic Donkey Kong experience, there's certainly no better way than Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This was a good time, and it makes me excited to try other games in the series. I'll get to Donkey Kong Country Returns eventually, but I'll admit, it's a shame we never got all of those letters. Kong! Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you like what you saw, be sure to like it, leave a comment, and check out my other videos too. Special thanks to all the people who helped me out with the video. I couldn't have done it without all of you. Also, an extra special thanks to my Patreon patrons, including Mantelferox and Savacom. If you'd like to join the Patreon, the link is in the description below, along with my Blue Sky, Twitch, and Instagram. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good night.
Hey y'all, this is Cranky Kong, telling you to subscribe. Actually,
I'm not Cranky Kong. I'm just a bald man with a fake beard.